Welcome to Zizek's Humvees, where forgotten military machines get a second life. This channel is all about the raw, unfiltered journey of bringing government auction Humvees back from the brink. Our current Humvee rolled off the trailer in true surplus fashion, an M1097A2, non-running, and rough around the edges. But as you've seen in the last video, we've made tremendous progress over the last few weeks. We've been tearing into this vehicle piece by piece, troubleshooting every system. Whether you're a seasoned mechanic, a Humvee enthusiast, or just someone who loves a good resurrection story, you're in the right place. So buckle up and join us for the full rebuild adventure. The wins, the setbacks, the discoveries, and the transformation of this unique piece of military history. If you want to follow the entire journey from non-runner to road-ready beast, make sure you subscribe and stick with us here at Zizek's Humvees. Okay, so we've had a number of days, snow and rain. It's been pretty miserable, but we've continued to work on things. The other night we were able to get the engine running with a slave cable coming from the 1114. And at this point, we think all of the fuel issues have been resolved. I did add a CDR valve, which is here. This one is set up for the deep water fording kit. That's now in place. We're going to work on the electrical at this point. I am going to change all of the glow plugs. When we started it off, it was cold and it was clear that we were getting fuel, and we got some white smoke, so we know we weren't firing. So I'll go through and replace all of the glow plugs, and then we're going to work on the battery and get two batteries in here. We do have the connections, the 12-volt connections for the transmission computer, so we have to make sure we get those in. Those go on the positive terminal on the back battery. And I want to clean the battery bay out and then clean some things out in here as we start to work through the electrical. I will add some lights to the vehicle. That gives us an idea whether or not we have issues with the voltage regulator. It is an older vehicle. The voltage regulator is the same date as the original body, which is 2003. So it hasn't been changed, and there were some indications of a fried battery, and there's some evidence of a battery boil over. Sometimes that's indicative of the fact that we may have some problems with the voltage regulator. I do have an extra one on hand. We'll go through and put it in if we need to. But the lights will give me an idea whether or not we have some power surging just from a visual standpoint, and then we'll put a meter on it and check everything. But that's the next steps. If we can get the electrical working, then we think we'll have this operational under its own power. Just a note, as you guys noted from the first video, the drive shaft, the rear drive shaft had been removed. Originally, I thought there was some damage potentially to the yoke. It turns out there wasn't. I think they had just pulled that off. We have gone through a little bit of work to get that refurbished so I can use it. I have pressed in a new universal joint of the right size. It's one that I just grabbed from the local hardware store. So I'll have to order an original. The Spicer has the version for the military and the version for the aftermarket. The aftermarket has just got a blue seal instead of a black seal. Otherwise, it looks like it's the same body. But we'll put a new universal on and get some straps and get the axle in the back, the rear drive shaft rather, in the back operational. So that's the next set of activities that we're going through right now. So hopefully tonight we'll have, after I get all this cleaned up, we'll have some batteries in, and we'll get the new glow plugs in, and then we'll fire it up again and see if everything seems to be working. All right, we've got the batteries in. I've pulled two batteries from one of my other units. We're still working on recovering the original batteries. I've added a new S cable. We've bolted everything up, we've tested it, and right now it seems to be working. Again, you can see some of the acid damage from what looks like a boil over, so we're going to check some additional electrical systems and make sure we're good to go. Now that we have the vehicle basically operational, we have the engine working pretty well, and the drive line has been repaired and put back up in. We're turning our attention right now to some of the basic external electrical. there's not a lot to really remove. These we put in while we were transporting it. The cups, everything has been stripped off the vehicle. I mean everything. There's hardly anything to remove. We just have to put stuff on. And so we're in the process now of putting lights and reflectors around the outside of the vehicle. And then we're going to turn to the more difficult electrical elements associated with regrounding some of the areas. As we go through and put these in, we have to ensure that we have good grounding. Now, one of the challenges we have seen, as we indicated previously, the wiring harness and chassis, everything that came with the upgrade is really, really good. However, the hub is a 2003 hub, and what we are finding is many of the elements associated with the original 2003 tub are left in place, and as you can see, these things are just broken and falling apart. And it's interesting that they plugged these older units into the new wiring harness. As we've tried to remove these they're just breaking apart into pieces. So we're adding some new lights. We're going to put some new reflectors on, and then the external elements of this will be done, and we'll turn our focus on a grounding harness, a new grounding harness up front in the engine. One of the things we noticed once we removed the slave cable from the 1114 when we originally fired it up, shortly after we removed the slave cable, the engine shut itself down. I was able to get it going again, but we noticed, number one, the few lights that we had on the vehicle were pulsing, and those were some indications that we might have a problem with the alternator. In checking with a couple of friends online, they all reminded me that, I've been a Humvee owner for 3 years. I ought to be able to recognize when we start to have voltage regulator issues. And so I quickly grabbed a dual voltage regulator from one of the other vehicles and brought it over. We tested this one and we were not getting the appropriate voltage out, so we took a chance to see if it was just the regulator, which in many cases it is, and not the entire alternator. We swapped this one in. It's about a 20-minute job to remove the 3 bolts that hold it, 3 wires and 2 connectors. So we just grabbed the one out of the other vehicle, brought it in, and that solved our problem. We got stable voltage out. We're now charging the batteries. We now have batteries in it. We're charging the batteries. There's no pulsing, and the engine is running really well. So we're going to have to chase down a new voltage regulator so I can put this back in the other vehicle. But that seems to be the last of the major issues from a standpoint of getting the vehicle operational the way that it needs to be. All right, we've replaced the glow plugs. It did not go completely well. 7 of the glow plugs came out without any issue. On the passenger side, I usually do the 2 most rear ones through the doghouse. The 2 front on the passenger side, I go through the front of the engine bay. The ones on the driver's side I do from beneath is what works out best for me. The glow plug in cylinder number 3, while I could unscrew it, we could not extract it. I ended up using the equivalent of a pry bar with a fork on it to get underneath and slowly just rotate. It took me almost an hour to get that glow plug out. The good news is it came out without damage. The tip and everything was there, but it looked like the body had swollen enough that it just made it almost impossible to get out. With a little bit of patience, didn't force anything other than putting some outward pressure on it as we tried to unscrew it, and finally after some time it started to work its way out. The new plug went right in. I've put the new plug in, removed it, put it in, removed it. Everything seems to be fine. So the plug is in, but it did not go well. So we're going to give it a shot. Right now we have internal batteries instead of a slave cable. We have new glow plugs in it, and hopefully we should be able to fire right up. And it actually warmed up over the last couple hours. The rain went away, it warmed up tremendously. We have some sunshine here, and so it's gone up. So anyway, let's give it a shot now and see if these last 2 weeks have paid off in the way that we hoped it would have. test with it, make sure everything looks good. Clearly, we're going to go ahead and change all of the fluids. We're going to drop transmission fluid, the oil, new filter, purge the system, we'll put new antifreeze in it, and then we'll go from there. We're in the process right now of changing the radiator fluid. We've completed the oil change already. The good news is that the oil plug looked good, the magnet, we didn't see any particles, and the oil filter looked good, and right now the coolant actually looks pretty decent. So we're hopeful that we've got some good conditions in the engine going forward. We've cheated a little bit, and we wanted to see how things were coming together. So this bumper has been sitting on a pallet through the winter, waiting for us to get onto the next stage of a build like this. This is unique in that it looks like a Special Forces W bumper with some additions, but instead of being made out of aluminum, this is made out of steel. This is designed specifically for our needs from search and rescue, or needs like ours, where we may actually need to push a car or push debris out of the way, and this allows us to do that without damaging the bumper. So this is what it looks like. We've thrown some mirrors on. I've pulled the doors over from one of our other vehicles just to see where we're at. So this gives us a good idea of where we're headed with this vehicle from a standpoint of build out. A great shout out to Austin at Austin Aviation, Humvee Surplus, and Humvee 29 for this incredible build for us. Contact them if you need something similar. I'd highly recommend it. But again, relationships in the industry, no sponsorships that we have here. This is all based on a shout out from outstanding service and support from all of these folks. Thank you for joining us in the rebuild adventure of this unique piece of military hardware. If you want to follow the entire journey from non-runner to road-ready beast, make sure you subscribe, give a thumbs up, and stick with us here at Zizek's Humvees. The mission continues. Thank you.